Hello, I think I'm live. Um, let's just have a look. Hi, everybody. If you're here, I just want to have a quick look, um, see what's happening. Hold on for a second. As you can tell, I am still new. I hope the sound is working all right. And yeah, there it is. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. If you're watching, you can let me know what just happened. Why did what does this mean? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to turn that off for now. Hi. Always the sort of rocky beginning. My name's Aaron Hunter. This is Movie Talk with Aaron Hunter. Welcome. This is my second live stream. I hope it's going to be all right. I'm trying a slightly new setup and we'll see if it works. If anybody happens to be watching right now, I'm a big fan of your Fuzz Aldrin. Hi, Fuzz. Thanks. Can you hear me? It looks like my mic is picking up a reading, but I'm using a kind of a new mic setup. And if you could let me know, that would be great. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep talking. So this is my second live stream of 3 attempts. The first one was a fail, in part because I'm still getting used to this kind of setup. And if you could see what's going on here right now. Thanks, man. If you could look and see what's going on here right now, it's a bit of a mess. But let's get into it. So there's a few things I'd like to do today. I better check my little list real quick so I don't forget anything. So first of all, I'm going to say some thanks to people, anonymous mostly, but I hit 1,000 subscribers about 10 days ago, which is not a big deal for YouTube in the grand scheme of things, but for me in this channel it is. I'll say a bit more about that. Because I now have over 1,000 subscribers, YouTube gives me the option to monetize my videos. And I want to talk a little bit about that and why I'm going to choose not to do that, but why you might still see ads when you watch my videos. I'm going to give away some books. Now, I don't know how many people are going to show up today. I'm not Rick Beato. So I've got 3 books. I don't want to give all 3 of them to one person just because that kind of ruins the fun of it all. But they're all books by me. My first book here is Authoring Hal Ashby, which came out in 2016. And it's kind of a non-auteurist look at 1970s Hollywood, or the myth of the new Hollywood auteur. That's from 2016. I've got this behemoth, as Stephen Wright says, behemoth, which is, I don't know if I can get it in there in the non-blurry part, Being There and the Evolution of a Screenplay. This is a pretty cool book that I actually didn't do a lot of writing in. I put this together. Look at that monster. And this is 3 full drafts of the script to Being There. I got permission from Robert Jones. I got permission from the copyright holders of Jerzy Kaczynski, or Jerzy Kaczynski. Pardon my poor Polish pronunciation. And so there were more than 3 drafts of script. Jerzy Kaczynski wrote several drafts before Bob Jones, at the behest of Hal Ashby, took over, and Bob Jones wrote 2 drafts. This includes one of Kaczynski's late drafts, and I go into details in the book why I chose the one I did. Bob Jones's first draft, and then Bob Jones's final draft, which is effectively but not quite the shooting script for Being There. The ending is different and a few other minor things, but it's pretty close, which Jones put together after his consultations with director Hal Ashby. They were very good friends. Jones had edited several of Ashby's films and then ended up winning an Academy Award for his contributions to the script of Coming Home. And he passed away just about a year ago. He passed away about 2 weeks before this book came out. and somewhere on my YouTube page you can find a sort of video tribute. You can have one if you can answer the trivia questions. Um, and then my newest book, which I'm pretty proud of, and just came out about, I think, less than a month ago. It was the very end of February. Polly Platt, Hollywood Production Design and Creative Authorship. Polly Platt's kind of a hot topic these days, especially because of the You Must Remember This podcast from almost 2 years ago now, where Karina Longworth dedicated a whole season of You Must Remember This to Polly Plath's life and work. This book is a great complement to that. This is less focused on Plath's biography, although there is a short chapter at the beginning where I kind of talk about some key moments in her life that figure into the way I want to talk about her contributions to the film. So I don't know if you can see this clearly, but there's a life in brief, and then there is set design and attention to detail, where I kind of talk about, I kind of provide a taxonomy for how I think production design can be understood. There are a lot of different ways to do that, and I discuss some of the other ones that came before. And then I kind of divide up Plath's work. Location, she was the location supervisor, often with Frank Marshall for most of her films. Color in the films of Polly Platt. Plath's costume design, so she did costume design on most of the films on which she did production design. And then I do a chapter called Design and Authorship in Paper Moon, where I kind of bring all of it together. That fantastic picture there is from, it's Polly on the set of Paper Moon, and I love that photograph. I found it in the Peter Bogdanovich archives, and it was quite a process to get permission because it had no photo credit on it. And so I had to go through several hoops, but Polly's daughters, Sashi and Antonia Bogdanovich, were fantastic throughout the process of my writing this book. And in the end, they gave permission to use their mother's likeness. I also had to get the archives permission and others. So those are the three books. I'll have three trivia questions, sort of, throughout this live stream, one coming up soon. Fuzz, if you remain the only person in the chat, which is totally fine, think about which one you want the most, because I'd rather not send all three to one person. Aside from that, I'm going to announce some news for the channel and upcoming things. So let's just get going. I'd like to say thanks to everybody. If you're watching this now, Fuzz, or anyone who might be watching this later. 1,000 viewers is not very much on YouTube. I know that. But for a channel like this, for me anyway, it's a kind of an accomplishment. It was the first sort of benchmark I set myself. And in fact, I sort of thought at first that I was going to do it much sooner. I'd had this channel for a few years, and I was putting up sporadic video essays, and I wasn't very good at it, although I think a couple of them aren't bad. One of the Hal Ashby ones and one of the Polly Platt ones they're pretty good, but they're not, the cream of the crop of the video essay. And I had about 100 followers or something like that. And then I started this project, Movie Talk, in November of 2020, and I started to get followers right away, and I was quite surprised. I was like, "Oh, wow, I'm going to hit 1,000 followers by early April. My son's birthday's in early April." I was like, "Otis, I'm gonna give you 1,000 followers." He's really invested in this. He's almost 11, and he's learning about social media. And he's like, "How many do you have?" I was like, "I'll get 1,000 by your birthday." I don't think I even hit 500 by his birthday last April. So failed number one of many along the way. Keep trying, man. If you fail, keep trying. But I'm putting up videos that are 30 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes long. Mikey and Nikki was a 2-part video that was, I think, 2 40-minute videos combined, where I'm basically standing in a room talking at the camera about movies, with some clips thrown in. And, that is not super sexy YouTube content. I know that. And I thought a lot about that. And some of my friends asked me, why don't you do, 15-minute videos that are whiz bang boom? And I'm like, well, that's YouTube has that. And people are good at it. And people do the kind of thing that I do shorter as well. There's another channel called What Makes This Movie Great. So we're kind of vying. He has a lot more followers than I do. And his videos are about 15, under 20 minutes usually. Still very comprehensive. It's a great channel if you haven't seen it. But much shorter, to the point. He makes kind of like one or two key points in his videos and moves on to the next, which is fine. I don't say that as a criticism, but that's one type of video. I wanted to, when I was putting this together, and I talked a little bit about this in my last live stream, I wanted to provide something almost like an educational service, but lighthearted. So when I lecture in my classes, I'm a little more serious than this. And so they end up, I'm always trying to get them down, man. That's why I brought in the Break Scene series, which I need to get another one out. And those ones are under 20 minutes, but how do you talk about Wendy and Lucy in 15 minutes? Some people can, but I can't. And so for a channel like this, thank you, Fuzz, that's really great. The Road Warrior. I'll come back to that in a second, Daniel. Interesting. I'll come back to that. So to have 1,000 viewers for a channel like this, where I blather on, I'm happy about it. So thanks to all of you. Thanks you who are watching right now. And any of my subscribers who are watching this after the fact. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the fantastic comments I get, including you guys who are commenting right now. Oh, thanks, man. I did get a couple of my first negative, really like harsh YouTube negative comments in the last couple of weeks on my Break the Scene video for Winter's Bone. The guy just dropped a hard one on me. You can go check it out if you want to see that. I kind of take it as a badge of honor. It was like right when I was hitting 1,000 subscribers, and it's like I'm making it on YouTube, man. And then this guy's like, "You suck." But you got to take that to territory, right? It is YouTube after all. Not bad for a year and a half. So thank you all. I'm going to toast you with a Guinness Zero. It's St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland. It's the day after St. Patrick's Day, but they've turned today into a holiday. St. Patrick's Day has always been an official holiday, but now they've decided, the 18th should be a holiday too. So it's a 4-day weekend here. I'm currently doing a sort of dry period project in my life. It's just something I'm curious about. When COVID came along, I'm like, I'm going to learn guitar. I'm going to learn Spanish. I took Kung Fu online for a year, so now one of my projects is Life Without Booze. What's that look like? And I usually do dry January anyway. I've been doing it for like 20 years. And so now I'm just extending it and seeing like what's it like for dry spring or maybe dry 2022. I don't know. Anyway, I got a 4-pack of Guinness Zero yesterday. I think it's a fairly new, this is not a promotional video, by the way. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, when the trolls descend. They haven't quite descended yet, but maybe after I say that I'm drinking Guinness Zero, I'll bring out a whole new kind of troll. Sort of sacrilegious to be in Ireland drinking this stuff. But, I'm going to take a sip. I had 2 yesterday. I got a little placebo buzz off them. I'm not going to lie. We sat down to watch West Side Story, and I was like, woohoo, West Side Story is cool. I think that had as much to do with the placebo Guinness as with Steven Spielberg. See, the first taste tastes remarkably like Guinness. The aftertaste has got some funk going on. It's non-alcoholic, Daniel. Sorry, but I won't flaunt it too much. Okay, I'm gonna come and look at you guys' comments in a couple minutes, and then I'll try to answer them. Anyhow, so thanks to all of you for following. Thanks to you guys who are watching right now. It's fantastic. And a couple other things I wanted to talk about. I think it's time for me to ask my first trivia question. Yeah, question 1. So if you're interested in winning this book, I'll post it to you. I don't quite know how you'll get me your post address. You can, if you trust the chat, there's only a couple people in here, or if you want to email me, I'll give you my work email. It's already available online, so I'm not worried about it getting abused. I should probably ask my institution that. Okay, so Hal Ashby, I have a question for you. It's related to Ashby and the channel. If you want to win this book, I will post it to you. That's going to cost me money if you're in the States, but I don't mind because I want to thank my subscribers. Okay, I've written the question down. In the early days of Movie Talk, so about 1.5 years ago, I did an episode of What Makes This Film Great. The first person who answers this, by the way, wins the book. And you know, I've got a 10-year-old. I don't put up with sort of nonsense that you got your answer in first. It's the first one that I see in the stream. There's only 2 of you right now, and I'm only going to give away 1 per person. So if you'd rather get the Being There book or the Polly Platt book, hold off on answering this. Or answer them both and then tell me which one you want, and the second place person gets this. Whatever. Anyway, back to the question. In the early days of Movie Talk, I did an episode of What Makes This Film Great about a film directed by a longtime Ashby associate. It's one of his very few feature films. He's directed documentaries, but he's most known as a cameraman. So who is this person, and what was the feature film that I did the episode of What Makes This Film Great about? All right, so if you want a chance to win this, be the first person to answer that question. While you dig a little bit. Okay. If I do TikTok, I'll get 1 million views. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not averse to anything. I don't know how I would do on TikTok, but yeah, suggestions. Yeah, I have Letterboxd. I don't know what my account name is. I haven't really found a huge benefit of using Letterboxd right now. So I did a project about 5 or 6 years ago called 52 Films by Women. And anyone can do this anytime. You don't have to sign up or anything. And it's just like you make a pledge. Most people started in January, but you don't have to. And you make a pledge that you're going to watch 52 films this year, whenever your year starts, on April 1st, let's say, or March 18th, 52 films directed by women. So it averages out to 1 a week. And I did that, and I cataloged all those films. And I think that's all that's on there. That's the kind of the only thing I've used it for. So what's the benefit of Letterboxd? I know you can give short little reviews, but I'm not sure yet. Tell me why I should use Letterboxd. Okay. Let's go on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is monetization. Yeah. So I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this. And YouTube lets you monetize after that, which means you can choose to put ads in front of your videos, and they'll give you a percentage of the ads based on your views. Excuse me. And though maybe you guys know this already, but the way that works is every time I upload a video now, you know, you have this series of pages that ask you like to put your tags in, and then to ask you to put an end screen in. And there's one now that says, do you want to monetize this or not? And so far I've only chosen no. And there are a couple reasons for that. One personal, one practical. And the personal reason is that I don't love advertising. No offense if you work in advertising. one of my best friends in the world, my oldest friends is in advertising. He lives out in LA. He's a fantastic guy. I really put my foot in it with him once. Every time I go out to Los Angeles to do research, because I'm here in Dublin, but a lot of my the subjects of my work are Hollywood based. So I go out to LA every few years, and this friend of mine always lets me stay with him. I sleep on his couch. He takes me out. He makes advertising guy money. I make lecture money. So he, buys me $60 tequilas and takes me to parties. It's awesome. It's hard to get the research done. And I was out there the first time, and I hadn't seen him in quite a long time. And we got really high. And I don't know if it was like fully legal yet in California, but definitely the dispensaries were there, and everybody was getting it. And he had only recently moved from New York, and he was telling me all the differences about between New York and Los Angeles. I'm like, oh, you got to hear this comedian Bill Hicks. He does this funny shtick about New York and LA. If you're a Gen Xer, you like Bill Hicks, and he didn't know Bill Hicks. He's a Gen Xer. And so I'm trying to find it on YouTube or something like that. And I can't find the thing where he's talking about Christmas in LA and Christmas in New York. But I find this other thing. I'm like, oh, no, this one's really funny. And it's this famous Bill Hicks shtick where he's like, anybody in the audience who's in marketing or advertising, kill yourself. He goes on about this. He's like, anyone in the audience who is in advertising is thinking like, oh, he's going after the anti-advertising dollar. That's a good dollar. And he goes on about this. And I was so high. It didn't occur to me because I had found this through this sort of rabbit hole search for another thing. And that I'm playing this like kill yourself advertiser to one of my best friend who's in advertising, and he listens to it and he's not laughing. I'm like, isn't this funny? And he's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, oh. Yeah. So don't kill yourself. But I don't love advertising. I have a cold. I'm sorry. It's starting to come out. It's not COVID, but it's my first cold in like 3 years. And YouTube works for the people it works for, and I have no problem with that. I'm not on a crusade. It's just like I feel like I want to create this content and give it to people who then can support me by choice in one way or another. So I'm not going to like make a pledge that I'll never turn on monetization, but for now, it's not in the cards for me. You may have clicked on one of my videos and seen an ad, which leads to the practical reason. So it's not all high and mighty stuff. About a third of my videos or more are have copyright claims against them because of the footage I use from films. The film industry is a lot better about letting you use their content than the music industry is. If you've watched any of Medium Cool. Yes, you got it, Fuzz. If you want the book, well, you technically should say the person who directed that film as well. But yeah, you're on the right track. And where was yeah? So they're better than the music industry. All right, ciao from Italy, Paolo. Ciao. The film industry, sorry, I lost track. The film industry is much better than the music industry. And if you've watched Rick Beato and people like him at all, he goes into great detail about what the music industry is missing, because what they tend to do is just block videos. A few of my videos are partially blocked, and it's strange. Like Wendy and Lucy, which I just put up, is blocked in France. And that's it. Sorry, French viewers, and not anywhere else. And that has to do with how distribution works and the companies that distribute and how strict they are. In my experience, when I get a hard block, so if I usually have one or two countries, sorry, France, you're the only country this is the only time France has blocked me. It's just one video. But in my experience, if I do a appeal, I usually win it, because I say it's fair use, I say it's educational, and whichever person is actually a person and not a bot reads it, goes, okay. So for example, last autumn I did Night Moves, and that was fully blocked. I appealed, and it was unblocked the next day. which doesn't happen so much with music, um, the use of music in YouTube videos. However, they do put copyright claims, and the way the copyright claim works is that I can't monetize it. They monetize it. So if you see an ad before one of my videos, that money is not coming to me. That money is going to Warner Brothers or Fox or whoever else it might be, which is another reason, and that's more pragmatic one. So yeah, I don't like ads, but also even if I do monetize, I'm not going to get it half the time anyway. There's a solution to that I want to talk about in a minute, but before I do, yeah, Wexler, that's it. Fuzz Aldrin, that's it. Happily watched. Oh, thank you, Daniel. That's very nice of you. Okay, what did I want to move on next? Another question. This one's really easy. Hopefully somebody from Europe wins this book because it's heavy. But I will ship it if you win it. Where were the scenes in the Rand Mansion filmed? It's in the United States. What's the name of the house, and where is the house that is used as the Rand Mansion in Being There? The first person who lets me know that, I will send you this book and I will sign it. It's Being There in the Evolution of a Screenplay. I do write a long introduction before you get to about this much, so 40 pages. And then I write an introduction to each of the 3 screenplays. And then it's just 3 full screenplays. I thought a lot and I talked with my publisher a lot about annotating the screenplays, but we decided not to because we just wanted people who wanted the screenplays to have them. So I talk about them in brief introductions, but they are unadorned. And as they were written, I make some minor punctuation corrections, but otherwise I leave in the misspellings. I leave in everything. I transcribed these babies. That was a fun summer. Okay, so where was the Rand Mansion in Being There? Okay, so what I wanted to talk about next was I am not monetizing, but I have started a Patreon page like everybody who's doing creation on YouTube and elsewhere these days. I'm going to have a little drink from my non-alcoholic Guinness because I'm getting a little parched. So it's a very simple page to find. It's patreon.com/Aaron Hunter. And I'm just going to put it into, hold on, the chat. And that's my, oh, that's great, Fuzz. Yeah, that should work. And let me know, Fuzz, if you want to. It's totally up to you. If you want me to dedicate it to Fuzz or if you have a different name or whatever it is. So I'll sign it. Or if you don't want it signed because you want to resell it later, let me know that too. Okay. Yes, Patreon. I only have 2 tiers right now. I don't have high expectations for this, but I've been doing this for a year and a half, and it's fairly laborious. Each What Makes This Film Great video, which I guess is kind of the backbone of my channel. I always rewatch the film, which I love, so that's not even laborious at all. I don't have a studio. I'm in my living room, so where I'm sitting now, my camera for What Makes This Film Great is kind of there, and I'm standing there. The fish tank is like right there, and that red guitar on the wall is right there. You can get all the books, Paolo. First books I've given away are both published by Bloomsbury. You can get them from Bloomsbury. They're expensive. And that's a whole other thing I was actually going to talk about, but I don't want to push this till forever. Academic books are expensive. It's a racket. The authors have very little to do with that. Part of it is because they make most of their money selling books to university libraries. So this book, when it first came out, you can get this in paperback now for around 40 euros, I think. The hardcover is around 80 or 90. But when it first came out, it was 100 and something. And they sold it to 400 libraries. That's a good deal for them. This one I don't think is out in paperback yet. Bloomsbury usually waits 18 months. This just came out about a year ago. I think it was the end of last February, early March. So it might come out in paperback. My original idea for this was for it to be only in paperback, but that's not my decision. And this one again it's up around the 100 euro mark. I have a page on Amazon if I don't want to promote them, but you can find it there. Places like probably any bookseller. They're on any bookseller online. You can find them. And they're in a lot of libraries. I don't know about in Italy. The Biltmore Estate. Sophie, you got it. Yes. You can let me know either on Twitter, or you can send it to my email address. I'll give it at the end, and get me your address, and I will send you this copy of the book, and I will sign it if you want it signed. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Patreon page, and then we'll do Polly Platt in a minute. The lag on the YouTube, it just jumped like a few seconds. It's weird. Anyhow, I hope that doesn't mean my latency doesn't mean that my stream's about to go down or something. If it does, apologies in advance. Okay, so I have 2 tiers on Patreon. The €1 tier, it shows up in America as like $1.25 or something like that. And that's just if you want to say, hey, thanks for doing this. And then I have a €5 tier. And I've started a new series for people who join the €5 tier called The Week in Movies, where I just sit here at this desk and I talk for 15 or 20 minutes about movie news that week. I've got about 4 or 5 up from the last month. And I have 2 more to put up. Actually, one that I was filming today, this week's version, in which I did a nice critical but nice sort of tribute to William Hurt. My camera went on the blink, and I'm going to have to refilm that one. So this week's will probably go up tomorrow or Sunday. Mostly so far, I've been talking about news about I've been trying to watch the film. So I've been given sort of weekly capsule reviews of Dune, or we watched, as I mentioned, West Side Story last night. So I talked a little bit about that in today's video that I have to reshoot. And I'm going to try to watch the rest of them in the next, whatever it is, 10 days before the ceremony. I've talked a little bit about some passing, William Hurt, Sally Kellerman, Douglas Turnbull, and a few others. And in the one that I'm going to upload tonight from last week, I kind of go on a riff about the Batman, which I haven't seen. And this sort of nexus of difficulty, I'll sign it. This nexus of difficulty where streaming and COVID have changed the way we think about movie going in the cinema. And we've had every 6 weeks or so the film that's going to save the cinema. And it was F9 in the summer, and Black Widow, and Dune, and Spider-Man, and the Batman. And I just kind of talk a little bit about why is it always blockbusters? Of course, it would be blockbusters. And stuff like that. And they're all about 15 or 20 minutes. And you'll have access to those if you're the €5 patron. And I'll do one a week of those. And I'm also going to start to put some stuff up there like, B-roll stuff or bloopers. Last summer, I went to Budapest and I did all this filming on Budapest on film. And I went to all these, I had 3 films in mind, Black Widow, Spy Games, and Munich. Munich's a really interesting one, the Spielberg film, because like half the film was filmed in Budapest, but it stands in for Paris and Amsterdam and Berlin, maybe. Definitely it's Berlin and Spy Games. And you can walk around the corner, and here the Paris scenes were filmed, and then around the corner the Amsterdam scenes were filmed, and so on. And I went and filmed all these, and my mic was messed up, and yeah, it turned out horrible. I was not good at filming live on the streets, but there's a little bit of good footage from that. So I might put stuff like that on the €5 Patreon. Anyway, it's there. And I decided I wasn't going to do that until I got to 1,000 subscribers. And I did. So now it's up. It's just, I put the link there, patreon.com/Aaron Hunter. Oh, thank you, man. Great. That's nice. Amazing. And yeah, there it is. Tell your friends. Okay. A harder question. You'll have to probably, unless you are super switched on, which would be amazing. If you want the Polly Platt book, this baby is new. This came out a month ago. I haven't even done a book launch for it yet. I've sent a copy each to Polly Platt and Peter Bogdanovich's daughters, Sashi and Antonia. I haven't even sent my mom a copy yet. I sent a copy to my friend Martha, who is co-editing another book with me. We're working on a book about women in the 1970s. She's just this amazing film scholar, Martha Shear, she's English, but she's based here in Dublin at UCD. And I sent her a copy in the mail. And she's been kind of influential on my thinking about women in film. And that's it. 3 people, plus the aforesaid libraries that Palgrave's been selling it to. So this is not a Bloomsbury book. This is a Palgrave book. And if you want to win this book, I will mail it to you. And here is the question. It's a little complicated. In the 1970s, independently on different films, Polly Platt, doink, and Hal Ashby, doink, worked with 2 of the same cinematographers. So they worked with them on different films. Polly Platt and Hal Ashby, as far as I know, never worked together. So these are separate films and 2 of the same cinematographers. So the question is, who are the cinematographers? And I was going to say, what are the films? But let's just leave it. Who are the 2 cinematographers? So they're both men. It's the 70s. One of them shot a film that Ashby directed and that Polly Platt production designed, and another one shot a film that Hal Ashby directed and actually shot several films, hint, hint, that Polly Platt production designed. So tell me their 2 names, and you'll get my new Polly Platt book that not even my mom has yet. All right. Sip some Guinness. All right. I'll wait to see if anyone wants to go for that. And while I do, I just want to talk briefly about a few things that are coming up next. So some of you might have noticed I'm doing a short series on the films of Kelly Reichardt, whom I love, absolutely adore. I've been talking about doing this for ages, and I'm finally doing it. And there's one more film in that series, which is called Meek's Cutoff, which I hope will be up in the next week or so. I might try to squeeze in a break the scene before that in the next 2 weeks for sure. If you haven't seen Meek's Cutoff, oh man, it's an amazing film. It's about this wagon train or pioneer train in the 19th century that's traveling from the American Midwest to the West Coast, and they're going through a lesser known path because they think it's going to be quicker, and maybe they get lost. And so if you've watched either of the 2 Kelly Reichardt videos I've done already on Old Joy and Wendy and Lucy, you know that one of the things her films do really well is to take what might be like one act or even just a couple scenes in another movie and to stretch that out and imbue it with tension and make that the whole film. So it's this process of like them being lost, and the characters in her film are always journeying. They're always searching. So, you know, Kurt and Mark and Old Joy are trying to find meaning in their lives as they've turned 30s, and these 2 friends, their lives have taken different directions. And Wendy and Lucy, she's just trying to find her dog. That's it. And she's trying to get to Alaska. And And here it's a slightly bigger scale, and this is a costume drama, and it's fantastic, and the tension is throughout the film, but it's also very slow, like the rest of her films. So that's coming up soon. After that, I'm going to do a spring of French films. Now, I've got a follower. He's not watching today, but he's commented a few times. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. Al Hussein Amar. Thanks for your comments, various comments. And he seems to have seen every movie ever made. Nice work, Al Hussein. He keeps recommending that I do a Chabrol film. And I thought I could do a series on Chabrol. I don't know Chabrol that well, but it's spring, or spring's coming. It's around the corner, and it's been a hard couple years for everybody. So why not do some French films? So I'm going to do a slightly extended series. Most of my series are 3 films. I'm going to do 6, I think, 5 or 6. French New Wave and French New Wave adjacent films. But as is usual for this channel, I'm not going to do the sort of breathless, fantastic film, Shoot the Piano Player, and so on. But some of the slightly lesser known, I mean, the French New Wave, they're all fairly well known, but some of the slightly lesser known films, and we'll have a French spring. So that's the next thing coming up. I wanted to get back to... One of you suggested, Daniel, if you're still around, The Road Warrior. I've been watching a couple of times with my son. He's really into it. He's probably too young for this, but we've watched Fury Road a couple of times. And now he wants to watch the older films. And I feel like even though Fury Road is newer and louder and more intense, I feel like the older films might skew slightly older time. Films skew slightly older in age, so I have to look into this, but I definitely have plans to watch them. So that could be an interesting series to do those first 3 Road Warrior films. There's actually an interesting connection between George Miller and Polly Platt that you may or may not know about. The last film that Polly Platt production designed was The Witches of Eastwick, and that was directed by George Miller. And I've actually got a picture. Yeah, I've got a couple pictures from it. I don't know if you can see that. That's the thousands of pink balloons in the sort of pink balloon scene. And I think I got a picture in there of the it's very dark, so it might be hard to see here, but the wonderful swimming pool fireplace that Polly Platt designed for this. And she apparently had a very good relationship with George Miller, and he gave her a lot of leeway. And I write quite a bit about The Witches of Eastwick in this book. So there's your relationship with The Obscure Object of Desire. Okay. Hey, Simon Milton. Hello, man. I'm almost finished, but it's nice to see you. Thanks, Fuzz. I will give that. I haven't finalized the list yet. I'm still thinking about what it's going to be. So I will put that on the short list. That's the best I can say for now. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Does anybody want to go for the Polly Platt book? I'll ask the question again. Which 2 cinematographers in the 1970s worked on films directed by Hal Ashby and designed by Polly Platt? These are separate films, and 2 cinematographers. One's incredibly well known, and one should be incredibly well known. He shot one of the best American movies ever made. Yeah. So that's all for now. If anybody has any other questions they want to throw at me, Sophie, if you're still here, you can do like Fuzz did and DM me. My DMs are open on Twitter, and send me your address there, and I'll get you the Being There book. You can also email me if you want to. My work email, which is available online. I work at Trinity College Dublin. It's just hunteraa@tcd.ie. Don't spam me, guys. That's really my my work email. But like I said, it's available online if you just go to the Trinity College Film Department and you'll find it there. So yeah, Sophie, send me your address and your name, or I guess your name is Sophie, that you want to have me mail it to. Now my I don't know if I'm still online. My thing is saying no device connected. Okay, sorry if I just zonked out there. I had a little connection issue, but yeah, Sophie, send me your mailing address and I'll get that book to you. I'll get those in the mail in the next week or 10 days or so. So if it takes a little while, don't worry, they're coming. Okay, going once. It's not Robert Town Wexler Fuzz, but thanks for the guess. Love the channel. Thank you so much, Sophie. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to hit the road. It's been 45 minutes. My son is at a sleepover. I'm going to hang out, take my dog for a walk, hang out with my wife. We're going to order some Indian food and watch a grown-up movie. I don't know what yet, but we'll find something. Oh, I just wanted to mention, I mostly talk about movies, but if you haven't seen the TV show Severance yet, yeah, very cool. I think the production design reminds me a lot of some 70s films like The Conversation. It's on Apple Plus, Apple Channel, Apple TV Plus, whatever Apple's channel is called. That's where you can find it. And it's kind of like a mind twist, corporate versus individual. Very cool show with Adam Scott, who I love from his Party Down days and obviously Parks and Recreation. Yeah, so check that out. Thank you all for watching. The answer, going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay, nobody gets the Polly Platt book before my mom. The answer is John Alonzo, fantastic cinematographer who shot Harold and Maude and The Bad News Bears. Both great films. He also shot Chinatown, which is one of the best American movies ever made. Beautiful user of natural light. There's actually a scene in Chinatown and a scene in Bad News Bears that are very similar to each other. He shot in Los Angeles City Hall for both of those films. Oh, and you got Laszlo Kovacs. You were so close, Fuzz. And yeah, so John Alonzo and Laszlo Kovacs or Kovacs. I lived in Hungary for a while, so we call him Kovacs Laszlo. But Kovacs shot Shampoo with Hal Ashby, beautifully made film. And then he was Peter Bogdanovich's go-to cinematographer for most of the 70s. He did not shoot The Last Picture Show, but he shot Targets, What's Up, Doc, and Paper Moon, all of which were designed by Polly Platt. And he would later shoot several more Bogdanovich films. And actually, at the end of the 80s, last bit of trivia, when Platt had moved into production, she was producing Say Anything, the first Cameron Crowe film. I got to interview Cameron Crowe for this book. That was pretty cool. And he was nervous because he was a writer. And James Brooks had said to him, "Why don't you direct this?" And he didn't really know how to direct. And Polly Platt was like, "Well, you need a good cinematographer." And she sort of strong-armed Laszlo Kovacs into shooting Say Anything for Cameron Crowe. So, yep, Laszlo Kovacs and John A. Alonzo were those two cinematographers. So no winner for this. If any of you are in or adjacent to Ireland, I'll be doing a book launch sometime this spring. But that's all for now, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Hugely appreciate it. Thanks for sharing my videos. Thank you for talking about with Dr. Matthews Fuzz. That's fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I will. Does he have a YouTube channel also? Is that some? Maybe you mentioned him to me before, but I'll check out that channel soon. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back with another live stream sometime in the spring. Until then, watch for more What Makes This Film Great. Watch for more Break the Scene. consider joining my Patreon. And as I always say at the end of every video, keep watching movies. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.